They advise against stepping on anyone's toes as you ascend, because you'll ultimately run into them again as you descend. My name is Diane, and my life has been on an up and down roller coaster. Since my dad was the CEO of a successful Silicon Valley firm, and my mom was a pilot for an international airline, I grew up believing that my family would always be wealthy. Because I was their only kid, they lavished me with food, toys, clothes, and gifts. Mom would arrange a huge celebration for me and my pals on our birthday. And for Christmas, I would receive a huge amount of things and spend the season somewhere else in the world. I celebrated Christmas in pretty much every nation my mother flies to, including Japan, Switzerland, Australia, and Germany. Up until authorities took Mom and Dad away, I believed it was the kind of life I would experience for all of eternity. Men in black suits get dragged into our house one day and took them. Later that evening, when I saw the news, I learned that what had occurred. It was uncovered that my parents were criminals. Since Dad started his business, they had been defrauding investors, and they will now serve a long sentence in prison. I was so afraid of going into foster care, but fortunately the court felt sorry for me and allowed me to take care of myself, as long as I can show that I can keep a job. The only asset I still possessed that the government did not seize was my home. Then I met Jia. I opened the door when she came to give my dinner at that moment. She grinned at me and extended the food bag. "Nice place? Amazing," she gestured. "Would it be okay if I requested a glass of water?" Jaya said for super, a smoothie, and that water. You might say that was our first date, I suppose. I probably should have told her about my parents and my life, looking back, but I had never in my life encountered a girl as stunning. I worked hard 2 jobs because I wanted to impress her, simply to satisfy all of her wants. I took her to the nicest restaurants when we went out. I gave her presents. Every time we went shopping, I would pay for her purchases, and for 3 solid months, I did not spend any money on myself, simply so I could have the money to get her a ring. I took her outside and presented her with a massive bouquet of red roses as a surprise. She noticed me, and her eyes immediately started to sparkle. She was overjoyed when I got down on one knee and proposed to her. I could see she would accept. But before she could say anything, my nosy neighbor across the street, who witnessed everything, said, "Wait until you find out who he really is. I strongly urge you to ignore him since he is irritated that he cannot convince a female as attractive as you to go on a date." We entered the vehicle and had the most romantic date ever that evening. Bill, my neighbor, always invited me, and when my parents were arrested, he was the happiest person in the street, which really bothered me. In fact, he said my parents deserved it. And I deserved to be left alone because my dad's financial scheme lured his parents into it. Then he misplaced his trust fund. Since then, his only goal has been to watch me suffer. Bill remained rich as I battled to maintain my afloatness. Jaya often questioned why I was using such an old vehicle. I did not have much time left to tell her the truth, but I was aware that if Jaya found out I was merely waiting for her to fall head over heels for me, she would break up with me, so that it wouldn't matter about my financial account. After dropping her off at her house, I made a pledge to myself to tell her as soon as I got home the next day from week. The following morning, as I hurried to complete an order for the fast food chain where I worked, Jaya had just entered through the door on her way to receive the delivery. I had no idea I would run into her here when I was 20 miles away at work. We looked at each other and I could tell she was perplexed. "Do you work here?" she inquired. As I was unable to respond, I simply murmured, "I can explain, babe. I wanted to let you know today, but I was unable to find the time. That you are a broken-assed piece of trash since you have such a large house. I assumed you were wealthy. Don't abandon me," she said. "Don't abandon me. Please, dear, could we please discuss this at home? Both my boss and customers are present. Regardless of who hears it, you had me deceived. So it would be best if everyone in this room knew that the person flipping their hamburgers is a lying catfish. Please, we're going to get married because we are in love. I make a pledge to offer you the life you deserve by doing everything I can. Have I been doing that, baby? Never again, please. Call me that. Look at you, your face and your figure. I am not getting married to a beggar. Did you ever consider getting a date? Certainly not if you knew you were not rich. I mean, there's no way in the universe that someone as beautiful as me would ever be interested in you. I just don't see why I should get married to you without the use of money. I'm done and I'm keeping the ring, so we're breaking it off. We are finished. Don't call or text me. I felt so ashamed that I was unable to bear the sympathetic expressions. I received several from the consumers. I could hear several of my co-workers laughing behind my back. And my manager gave me a disapproving look as though I had just given the customer tainted hamburger. I left work feeling deflated since he fired me right away for causing the disruption. As I arrived at my house, I noticed Jaya pushing her suitcase inside the Bill's home across the street. He glared at me as he stood on his lawn. He appeared happy and content. Look likes I won again, but I warned you, it wouldn't last because females like Jaya require spoiling. And to execute any of that, you lack the necessary funds. The thing that stung the most was watching them act so adorably every time I left for work. If she had simply departed, I would have forgotten about her, but she was now residing directly across the street. I vowed to myself that I would use all legal means at my disposal to make them regret what they had done to me. I gave my all in the second food restaurant I worked at until I was promoted to manager. I attended night classes while I was working, and I later received another promotion. The business recognized my dedication and gave me a scholarship for business school as a result. When I graduated with honors, the business instantly promoted me to regional manager. It was at a luncheon for the organization's freshly graduating scholars when I first met Sarah. She gave me my medal while sitting on the platform next to her father, the CEO. She gave me a hesitant smile. She blushed as we shook hands, and her congratulations were murmured to me while looking at me. In order to spend more time working at the corporate headquarters, I moved out of the house and into an apartment near to the office. As a result, I ran across Sarah more frequently. Her father brought me into his office when he realized that there was a developing passion between us. I begged him to forgive me right away because I believed I was going to get into trouble. If my affections for your daughter offend you, sir, please accept my sincere apologies. I place a lot of importance on this job, and I owe this firm everything, so I'm prepared to resign from my position if one gets in the way of the other. You love her that much, my supervisor chuckled. So no, I wasn't going to dismiss you. I just wanted to let you know how much I admire you as a young guy and how wonderful my daughter would be to have you. I felt a wave of relief. I was able to date Sarah without concern after that day. Despite the fact that we both were shy, we got along so well that everything seemed to be according to plan when we were together. We flew in the chopper and visited opulent resort while she showed me a world I could never have imagined. She lavished me with lavish presents. As the operations vice president, I received a promotion and a sizable payout was included. I made 2 purchases at the time that forever altered my life. One was a Ferrari Roma, the vehicle of my dreams, and the other was a 5-carat white gold ring with rubies and diamonds all around it. I asked her to marry me after a lavish private supper on the Seine. Yes, she replied. I took her home that evening because I was so excited to show her where I was raised, but as we were pulling in, something happened. Bill admired the car as he ran out of his residence. As he approached, I realized that he had been wanting this one for years. The tinted glass of the automobile prevented him from seeing me inside. I moved away from him as I did so. Man, cool ride. Do you live next door now? Did that loser sell the house at last? Bill's mouth fell and then my ex. Oh my God, Is it you, Dion? Appeared behind him. 10 years ago. Wow, you really come a long way. However, such sluggish folk still cannot afford to send me on a trip. Why don't we continue where we left off? You ask. I'm really sorry, Jaya. I now only date people that are in my tax bracket. Suddenly, my fiancé emerged from the vehicle and flashed a beautiful smile. Introducing Sarah, heiress of the Ola group of companies, my fiancé. And I entered my former home holding hands. Bill and Jaya were looking at me with jealousy, hating everything they had said and done to me 10 years earlier. The way life turns out in your favor eventually is pretty admirable if you keep working hard with honesty and dedication. Life always astounds us. It might be challenging to distinguish between what is real and what is not. We aim high for everything as children because we have so many goals, but what we truly need is a tranquil existence filled with contentment, stability, and sense of community. It's funny how rarely do our plans for the future play out as we had anticipated, virtually always surprising us in ways that we had not planned. After spending so many years on this planet, I think I've learned that karma hits us all equally, that if we do good to others, we will be taken care of, and if we cheat life, we will pay for it sooner or later, but we'll eventually catch up and we'll pay for it. I feel so fortunate to be enjoying my life right now.